off of me. Sorry, where's your cover? Get back! I'll shoot you, dude. I'm gonna shoot you, dude! Back up!
Why did a routine encounter end in gunfire with the unarmed suspect? This is the Shots Fired podcast. I'm Mark Ardlich, and this is Kyle Schoberg.
All right, this video comes out of Aurora, Colorado, when an officer contacts a male acting erratic. It ends in gunfire. The suspect ends up being unarmed, and we want to know if you think that this shooting was justified. When we come back, we're going to break the video down and talk about all the crucial talking points.
Where are your shoes at? You need to talk to me? You need to tell me what's wrong? What's going on today? Huh? Well, I don't know. Why are you back in this gate? Huh? Why don't you have any shoes on? Don't be messing with that. Don't be messing with that. Quit. Stop messing with that. Do you know how to listen to what I'm telling you to do? Huh? Okay, you need to leave. Back off of me. Shoot, help, sorry, emergency cover. Get back! I'm gonna fucking shoot you, dude. Get back. Get off me, man. What are you doing? Come on. You're not in trouble. What? You're not in trouble. You're not in trouble, man. Step it up, step it up. Hey, man, help me! Fucking huh? Get back. Get back. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now. Get on the ground. I'm going to shoot you if you do not get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground now! Stop! Get back! I'm gonna fucking shoot you, dude! Back up! Get down! 212, shots fired. Stay down! Put your hands out!
So after watching that video, I know a lot of people have the question on their mind is that shooting actually justified? So we're going to give you our opinions on that. But first, let's talk about the initial call for service and how that officer arrived on scene.
Yeah, so the call for service was a man acting erratic in a park, and the caller says that he believes a person to be under the influence. Here's my thought on that. Number one, that's a call for service most cops handle on a daily basis. And for starters, we say it every episode, don't go to calls by yourself, especially a call involving someone acting erratic. It said the guy was trying to get into a car. I don't know why you would go to that by yourself, especially this agency I know for a fact has numerous officers working. And, you know, whether you're short-staffed or not, you can always make sure that you have a partner to go with you. So that's that. And this whole video is a prime example of that. But based on the initial call for service, he gets there, he's by himself, and I can't help but look at the guy's demeanor. And these are things you have to focus on as a cop. If you're just a normal citizen watching this video, these are probably things you're not going to key in on, but as a cop, you're supposed to. And so I notice he's barefoot, he's got no shoes on. The guy's, it clearly doesn't appear to be homeless or anything to me, or disheveled. That's a red flag to me. Like, why does he not have shoes on? Number two, his total behavior, he's not listening to the cop. You could tell that he's either under the influence of something, maybe he's intoxicated, and or having some type of mental health problem, or all of the above. So right then and there, those are all red flags to me. I would not approach that guy by myself. If I'm going to show up just to make sure that he's not harming anybody in the public, I would probably just keep my distance away from my partner and then come up with a little game plan, because you can't help but think, like, just watching his behavior initially, you can't help but think to yourself, this is probably going to end in a use of force, or there's a high likelihood that this is going to have some level of use of force to it.
I think that's the important thing that I look at is based on his demeanor and the body language, I would believe that most likely it will also result in some form of physical contact with him, detaining, which would lead to a use of force. So thinking about the body language, what I'm looking at is kind of the pacing, moving around, not really having like a real direction of travel. Like, he's not going someplace. He's not trying to flee. He's not coming at you. He's just kind of wandering, which is odd behavior. He doesn't have shoes on. In his hand movements, he's like rubbing his head. He's turning away. He sees the officer, but it doesn't look like he's fully processing that he's there, or he's not. There's some type of a disconnect of what he's seeing with the officer. And then when the officer's talking to him, he's not really acknowledging it. He's turning his back on him. He kind of starts tinkering with something. It's a lot of the red flags here, or of the body language, called clusters, when it's not just one form of body language, but clusters are multiple, all add up to something. One specific body language might not necessarily mean anything, but the clustering of all of those is something that really needs to be key in on. And this is a great video that demonstrates body language.
Yeah, I think a lot of people ask, how do you recognize those type of, like you said, clusters of different body language or behaviors? And I think the way to answer that would be, over time with your experience that you gain as a cop, you build like a baseline or a foundation of how normal people behave. And then the longer you do this job, the more encounters you have with people under the influence of drugs, who are drunk, high, or both. And then you start to kind of layer that, and like you build that foundation of, like, you see someone like that and you immediately recognize, like, that's not baseline normal behavior. So I think as a cop, you do start to familiarize yourself with that level of behavior. I think as a rookie or being a brand new cop, it's really hard to do, because you haven't seen that a whole lot. And so I know we've been asked a lot in some of the YouTube comments, is like, well, how do you identify that? Well, I think that'd be the best way to answer it, is just over time, you build that baseline of what normal behavior looks like, and then you know what abnormal behavior looks like.
And I think you gain that really fast on patrol, but you could also gain that outside of work. And they call it people watching, just go someplace and sit, or walk through a mall, walk through a movie theater, sit someplace in a coffee shop, and just watch people come in and really watch their demeanor, what they're looking at when they enter a door, where their hands are, if they're in their pockets, if their thumbs are out of their pockets, or if their thumbs are inside their pockets. Are they crossing their arms? Are they looking around? Are they grimacing with like their teeth or their jaw? Are they fidgeting with something? Are they tapping their foot? Are they tapping their fingers? You can just watch someone's simple body language and really start to pick up on things. And over time, you'll see, and especially like if you sit in a coffee shop and you see people come in, you could easily start picking up, okay, this person's waiting in line. Their hands are in their pocket. They're on their phone. They're constantly looking. Like, you can pick up stuff. And I think that's important to point out, is that you start to figure out what a baseline is, and then what starts to become abnormal.
Yeah, I don't think that just goes for cops either. Like, yes, cops need to be hyper attentive to that. But even as a normal day, everyday citizen who watches these videos, like, you don't need to be a cop to be able to see somebody like that and understand that that's not normal behavior. Because now if let's say you are at a public park and someone like that's acting like that, and maybe you're there with your kids, like, I think you need to recognize that, get your kids, and it's time to go, keep your distance from people like that, so as to not put yourself in a situation where you might get hurt, and then call the cops and just let them know what's going on. But yep. I just don't want people to think that it's only if you're a cop, you need to be paying attention to that level of behavior. I think that goes for everybody.
Yeah, it's career and personal safety. All right, so let's talk about
The attack.
physical capabilities.
Attacks them.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So focusing on physical capabilities, bringing up a good point that we had pre this. If you are going to engage someone and it's going to lead to some form of force or physical contact, I think it's very important that you know your capabilities, and especially trying to predict what somebody else's capabilities are. So this person, looking at him, he's not a very big muscular person. He's fairly thin, don't know what his background is. I would feel comfortable physically engaging this person. But that's me. I'm comfortable with that. What about you? What's your thought?
I agree. I think that if you are going to remotely even close the distance on somebody, which this cop does, that guy abruptly just starts charging at him. Yeah, I think you need to ask yourself, like, what level of fighting do you even know? Like, were you a prior wrestler? Did you do jiu-jitsu? Any type of martial arts? Like, anything that would make you feel confident that if I go hands-on with somebody and they don't go with the program and they actually try to physically fight me back, am I going to be able to even defend myself? And a lot of times, unfortunately, in this career, cops don't even have that capability. They rely solely on their tools that they have, the mere presence of being a police officer in a uniform, that is going to intimidate people enough to comply with what they're telling them to do. And 9 out of 10 times, that usually works. The problem is the one time that it doesn't, such in this case, he brings the fight to the cop. And I wanted to hit on that real quick, because usually when cops say, oh yeah, I got in a fight or whatever. No, you didn't.
That's true.
The person was resisting to try to get away from you.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference. And I would say 98% of the contacts or physical encounters that you get with suspects is that. It's them resisting you enough to try to get away from you to then run away from you. Not often do people actually bring the fight to you. And all these videos that we see circulating online all the time, that's what happens, is these people are actually bringing the fight to the cop, taking their gun, taking some sort of weapon off their belt, and then the cops panic and they don't know how to even defend themselves. So,
well, there's a significant difference between
like resisting and fighting.
Yes, like
100%.
In this case, he is coming at the officer.
Oh yeah.
And once the initial contact is made, you only have two options. One is you're going to have to disengage and run from this person, which I don't believe is effective at this point. Like, you should physically engage that person. That's where your skill sets come in, of what is your background, or even confident in that, in tackling this person or doing some type of maneuver that you've learned to handle this person. Like, he just kind of pushes away, and it's just...
No, he ran towards him and brought the fight to that cop and totally caught him off guard. I mean, that guy's got long hair, dude. If I'm in a fight, I've been in some pretty knockout, drag out fights in my career. Not too many, right? But I have been in some, and man, I'm grabbing that dude's hair if I had to, and like pinning him to the ground, like whatever I could do to get that person either off of me, away from me, or some type of control. But that's why it's imperative. If you don't know how to go hands on and physically fight somebody, and you're not capable of that, you need to seriously consider waiting for your backup and not even putting yourself in that situation. Because if you're just hoping or relying on your mere presence of being a police officer to get you out of something,
yeah,
you're wrong. You're wrong, because when that person turns on you, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So he pulls out a collapsible baton, extends it, and then it seems like he tries to use it. It's hard to tell with the body cam if he makes contact or not.
I hate those things.
I've used them 3 times, and I found it to be very effective. But
You're
that's
the only cop I've ever talked to who's actually used one of those little flimsy collapsible batons and tell me that it actually worked. I've never seen those things work. I've seen them break.
No, the 3 times I used it, it was very effective. But
that's crazy.
You have to get intimately close with somebody. I mean, that thing is not very long, and you have to swing hard. Like, my back hurt after because I swing so hard. But in this case, like, you have to get physically close to somebody, and when you pull that out, I mean, that's your option. You're not trained to have 2 different things in, and once you take it out, I mean, what are you going to do with it? Throw it? Like, if you take it out, you better be confident in that. And in this case, like, it wasn't even effective, and then he tries to transition to his taser.
Well, yeah. So if you're going to bring a weapon out, which that thing is considered a weapon, I mean, yeah, he goes to pull the taser out. So if you're having to dump one weapon on the ground, which now gives the suspect access to, like, you got to think of that too. And that's why those collapsible batons, I I feel are more problematic than they are an asset. I know you said you've got success with it, but I think they're a problem because once you've flick that thing out, like what are you going to do with it when you need to?
Oh, you have no
you
choice
either
but
ditch
to,
it.
you have to collapse it or somehow to get it in a holster. If you have like a different, like I had the collapsible baton holster, it's long, so you can't, once it's extended, you can't. So I had like another ring off to the side. But the 3 times I use it, it was effective where I was, the suspect actually proned themselves out and was done. And then I was able to handcuff them. It was not like,
well, it didn't work in this scenario.
This situation did not.
He had to pull his taser out and he tries to tase a guy. That was ineffective too. And I want to touch on the new Taser 10 real quick because this is a perfect video to highlight this new Taser 10 that Axon has come out with, because you get 10 shots with it. It isn't like the standard in older Taser model like we see in this video where you got to get 2 probes on target with 1 shot, and if it doesn't work, then you're kind of screwed, right? So I do like the Taser 10. You do get 10 different shots to be able to get those 2 placements. So I really like that, and I would encourage people, if you haven't looked into a Taser 10 and your department uses tasers, like you guys should seriously consider looking into those because that's a game changer.
Well, I think the Taser 10 would have been effective in this because he would have had.
He could have got multiple shots on.
Yeah.
Up to 10.
Yeah.
Because at least 2 of them would have landed.
Yeah, because this one did not work, which resulted in another physical altercation of him actually going to the ground. And then like his commands, like he's just so this officer just got attacked on the ground with the suspect, and his commands are just pretty mellow.
Yeah, what I didn't like when he's on the ground, he keeps saying, and this is pretty far into this whole thing, he keeps saying, "Hey, you're not in trouble, you're not in trouble." And then this thing ends up in a shooting, and it's like, dude, you just used force on this guy. You tried hitting him with your baton, you tried tasing him, you've already been in 1 physical encounter with him. The dude is definitely in trouble and he's going to jail. And
yes.
Personally, I get the concept of saying, dude, you're not in trouble, to get him to calm down and maybe try to like diffuse the whole thing. First of all, in this situation, that's not going to work. And second of all, you're on body cam saying that, and then you're using force on the guy. You can't say, dude, you're not in trouble, but then you're using force on him. So
good point.
That, number one, that's not going to look good in court. But number 2, he ends up shooting the guy. So now it's like, well, those are all just things I would not want to have to explain. I think you tell the guy, it's on camera, there's people around, hey, dude, you're under arrest. Get on the ground. You need to comply. Force will be used against you. You're telling him he's under arrest. There's no argument. There's no arguing that. Now, had this guy lived and they do end up in court, how do you argue that? He just literally told him he's not in trouble. So I don't like that. I understand what he's trying to do. I think if you're in that situation, you don't say that. You need to directly tell people you are under arrest. If you don't comply, I'm going to use force on you.
Absolutely agree. The suspect ends up taking a magazine off of the officer's duty belt. It looks like the officer tries to grab it, and then they separate, create distance. The suspect stands up and again kind of has the same demeanor.
He's
of
just kind
of
wandering around.
Yeah, like it's just not like he's just not quite connecting with reality. It's just very odd behavior.
Yeah.
And the officer at that point, I would recommend you've just in a way escaped 2 physical encounters.
Yeah, which he did not win.
He did not win, and he's lucky to get hurt. The suspect is still not in handcuffs, had a baton and a taser deployment. You've got to get back and wait for cover because this officer's already shown not to be effective, or just the situation has not been effective.
Well, physically he's not effective, and his tools have not been effective.
Yeah. So look at the surrounding.
So now he's resorted to his gun.
Yeah, but look at the surrounding. There's nobody around. It's a big park. Just create some distance and wait for backup because now you're at your last resort.
Yep.
And the suspect is not armed at this point.
Yeah. No, I agree. And yeah, he felt like he had no other option than to pull his gun at that point. And yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, he's a pretty good distance away, and it didn't seem like the guy wanted to approach him. The cop actually closed the distance between him and the suspect. I would not have done that. I would have done what you said. I would have tried to get some cover, maybe a parked car or put something in between me and him. Yeah. Kept eyes on him. And I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to wait for your partners at that point. And again, I think it just cops get sucked into the whole feeling like he's feeling like he just lost the 2 fights. He's feeling like his tools aren't working. And he has that like feeling of, I got to get this guy into custody like right now. And you get sucked into that because that's what you're just taught to do as a cop. You're not taught very often to disengage, especially after something like that, just happened. But yeah, he's just standing there, and then, I don't know, he ends up shooting him twice. Did you shoot him twice or 3 times?
I think it was twice, and he ends up getting transported, and he ended up passing away at the hospital.
Yeah, so you have to ask yourself, like, I don't know, is that justified?
It is a good video, though, to overall talking about like the call for service. He's not wearing shoes, acting under the influence, trying to get in open car doors. That's alarming. Having that suspect actually attack you on 2 separate occasions, well, continuously. And then your baton not being effective, the taser not being effective, your physical capabilities to physically restrain a suspect is not effective, creating distance, like your environment. There's a lot of interesting things to take away from this video. And I think if you're watching this, really processing the importance of getting there immediately and creating distance, and how distance is an advantage for you at times.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to, do you need to be there right now? And there's very few times where you actually need to put yourself in a situation where you just need to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a great video. I mean, gosh, even being a cop myself, like I watch that, and I think the calls that I go to sometimes, and I try to personally key in on that stuff. And when I watch stuff like that, it's like, it's just a reminder that I don't want to put myself in a situation that I can't get myself out of.
Yeah. And sometimes you just stumble across a situation and you're by yourself, but those are a lot of different things to
Yeah, and that's
evaluate.
different. That's different.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think this was an interesting video. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are, if this was a justified shooting or not. Leave a comment below. We're curious to see what you have.
That's it for today's video, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Stay safe and be smart.